The smartest investors in history have one thing in common. They don't buy when things look good. They buy when the headlines scream disaster. There's an old saying, the time to buy is when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own. Today, we're breaking down what that really means, why it works, and how you can use it to create massive wealth when everyone else is running for cover. Guys, welcome to another episode of the Strategic Success Podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Fricky. Let's dive in. Today, I want to talk with you this idea of investing when there's there's some pain in the marketplace. And so now I've been talking about this for a while. None of us are immune to deals going south right now. So for those you know, I just moved to Florida and I have property managers managing my doors back in Louisiana, Mississippi. And so I'm still putting out fires, right? I am still dealing with stuff that is ultimately, you know, whether it's tenant issues, property issues, whatever, right? I've had, HVAC issues on more than one property just in the last 30 days. I've had a squatter issue on a property that's vacant that is for sale. I have had to fight a code enforcement lien because with all this rain, we've been fighting with keeping it with grass, and they just happened to catch us on a day when we hadn't had it cut yet, and we were in between companies. I also had to deal with I had to deal with well, we did finally get the new garage. So a few months back, a door dasher ran into the garage in one of my houses. So we finally got that finished, so that was good. We did have a tree fall at one of my properties. It was the neighbor's. It was a big, large limb, and so that fell and busted our fence. And of course, it's not a pine fence; it's a vinyl fence, and so those are harder to get people to fix those. So all these different things. So with that being said, you guys, it is none of us are immune to issues, whether it's just issues with the property themselves, issues with property selling, not selling, easy to refinance, not easy to refinance, whatever that looks like. And so I want to remind you guys that bad days happen, but they also end. Tough markets happen, like we're in right now, but I want to remind you that they end. So I mentioned a quote earlier, and I actually want to read it. So you may have heard this name before, um, at least the last name. But this is a very common quote. Previously it was, you most of the time you heard, buy when there's blood in the streets. Maybe you've heard that quote before, but I actually like it in the full context. So buy when there's blood in the streets, even if some of the blood is your own. It's just a reminder that some of the, a common wealth hack is, you should be buying when folks are, scared, fearful, right? Hurting. It's the headlines are not positive, right? But understanding that at the same time, you're also going to have to do some maintenance with your own portfolio and assets. So Baron Rothschild said this, right? So 18th century British banker, the Rothschild family, you've heard of them. I think I'm currently unpacking all my books. I want to say no, never mind. Those are on the Rockefellers, different family. Sorry, long R last name, not the same. And so it's this idea that when there's crisis. So obviously, economically, we're having crisis. Uh, you know, People are having labor crisis, right? Like layoffs, hard to get jobs, all of those things. Expenses have been going up, right? The inflation part has been here for a while, right? And so it's been overall difficult for a lot of folks. We're not ignoring that it's difficult, and I don't ever want to be like, oh, my life's all sunshine and roses, and that I'm not having any issues with, any of my properties. No, like right now I'm looking at a property that I'm selling that I'm gonna have to bring some money to the table. No one likes to talk about that, but I'm having, we have those moments. So with that being said, um, I want to talk with you about why it's important for you to consider going, still playing defense during this time, right? Maintaining the portfolio that you have. So that defense allows you to what you've acquired so far that you don't lose it, right? Because in difficult markets, people lose the good things they've acquired, okay, from mismanagement. So you want to make sure you're doing whatever is necessary to maintain what you've acquired, okay? And then on top of that, if you can manage to do that, maintenance and survive maintaining what you have, I would also encourage you to consider offense, but also preparing for offense. And so yesterday I sat in a meeting, and here in Florida, you can go to a meeting once, sometimes twice a day, every day of the week if you wanted to. Literally today, I could go to 2 meetings if I wanted to. And this is all besides McDonald's in the morning with Pete. Literally today, I'm going to a lunch meeting, and I could go to one around dinner if I wanted to. And they're about 45, probably about an hour apart from each other. That's if I wanted to, right? I mean, I went to one yesterday and I went to one the day before. Now I'm shaking trees here, getting to know people. So I am putting in that extra effort to go to as many as possible and say, hey, I'm not just visiting anymore. I live here. I'm looking to meet people. If you have any deals if you happen to have any deals in Louisiana, I'm interested as well, but I'm also looking here in Florida as well. Just getting to know people and letting people get to know me. But I sat in a room yesterday with about 25, 30 folks. Y'all, when I say maybe it was myself and maybe two other people who were in the 30 to 40-year-old range, everyone else, gray hairs, right? So that is absolutely a common thread here. So a lot of experience. And the most common conversation yesterday was that the folks were, who had a ton of equity in their properties, they were getting their powder ready, meaning they were like, should I get some loans on some of my rentals so I have cash so that when opportunities come available, I can get great properties? The conversation got around analyzing deals. And one of the guys said, hey, he was just like lowball everything right now. And a few of the realtors in the room rolled their eyes. But I mean, he has a point that right now in most markets across America, it is a buyer's market. I do believe folks will get some of the best deals of their career right now. I've been hanging every morning with my mentor, Pete. He goes to McDonald's just about every morning I've been with him. And he told me how he had just talked to a guy who here in Florida got 4 new construction properties with $250,000 down, and the remaining, like, they're worth 5 something. So let's call them 550. So he had to put 250 down, which is a significant down payment. Hey, calm down, buddy. Sorry, my dog. 250,000 down is, I mean, that's what, 40%? Something like that. Something in that range. Maybe even lower, 35, something like that. But the reality is large down payment. But the contractor was willing to carry their equity, and it could be the 250 was to take out the construction loan. Well, that construction loan, knocking that out, it could also have some of the contractor's money in for the rest of the build, as well as their profit. It's not all profit. I can guarantee you that. Like, I just don't see that being the case, but maybe for a $500,000 house, and the remaining balance, let's just call it 300. The remaining balance the contractor kept in a one-time single payment note due sometime in the future, meaning no monthly payments. Basically, he bought these $550,000 new constructions with a $250,000 down payment, but with a future note that he can pay with money from tomorrow. When he sells, maybe he sells one and pays off the rest, something like that. That right there is something, well, that wouldn't fully make sense, but as far as paying off the rest, but something along those lines, like, there are deals happening right now in this market where folks are getting great deals on great properties, and not in every market across America. That's important. Location, 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 that really matters. So ultimately, I want to encourage you that At the end of the day, you've got to assess what's going on and you've got to work very hard to maintain what you've acquired. I don't want you to get greedy to try to acquire new things and lose what you already have, right? So it's important that there's that firm foundation. Look, I don't care if you have to go DoorDash and Uber at night to make extra money to maintain what you have right now. Maybe you don't have reserves and you need to be able to cover a $2,000 note coming up. Well, do what you need to go do, ethically and legally, but get that money. Look around your house. All this stuff used to be money. If you need to convert some of it, do that. If you need to side hustle a little bit extra during this changing market, it is ultimately he who has the most allies wins and he who has the most skill sets wins. Right now, it's going to be critical that you find a way to stay on real estate island. Don't get kicked off, right? Don't mismanage your debt, don't mismanage your tenants, your properties, whatever. And look, when in doubt, if you've got the underlying debt to do it, keep it, right? But at the same time, right now I'm considering selling, bringing some money to the table, sell a property so I can get the distraction off my plate so that if I had to bring just X amount to the table, then I can then focus on all the other things. So I want you to keep that in mind. At the end of the day, you should be looking at your market. You should be getting your affairs in order. If you're not either positioning yourself or already ready, you are going to miss out on opportunities. What does that look like? You either need to line up having cash, getting loans, building relationships with lenders, whatever that looks like, you need to have options. Because if a great deal came across your table right now, would you know how to fund it? I promise you, a lender you used years ago may not still be there. A product you used years ago may not be there. And don't give me that BS, well, it's 7 or 8% interest right now. If you could get a deal at a great discount and I would still pay, I would pay 20% interest if I got a phenomenal deal. Seriously. If a house is worth, $300,000, yeah, it's tough to pay 7% interest when you're buying it near retail. But if I could get it for 180 to 210, could I make it work at a 8, 9, 10% interest rate? Right? The better the deal, the more you can afford, for the interest rate. And is interest rates forever? I'm not saying marry the house, date the rate, but the underlying point to that is true. You can refinance at some point, depending on the debt you get into. But don't put yourself, with your back against the wall where you have to refinance in 6 months. No, because yes, tough markets happen and they end, but do they end immediately? There's no telling. So, my encouragement to you today is take heart. You're not alone. I want to encourage you to be contrarian. Okay. Everyone and their moms are talking about sitting on the sidelines. Every excuse in the book is being thrown out there. Interest rates are too high. The insurance crisis is too much. You know, this, that, and the other. Like, oh, I'm having issues with my properties. Real estate. Oh, Ray Dalio just said real estate's the worst investment you can do right now, and all these things, right? You've got to have a firm foundation. And when this this old adage, right? Wealthy folks have made their wealth by buying during a crisis. Guys, there is no hiding that we're in a crisis right now. They haven't called it a recession yet, but the reality is, none of us are denying that there's recessionary things happening, right? So are you ready? Are you ready to either or maintain and go on the offense as well? You've got to do one, if not both, right? Because those who do not have a plan to maintain, they're going to lose. So maintenance, right? So you've got to fight hard to keep what you've built in this market that is necessary, especially and really, truly, if you have leverage, you have to have a plan to maintain. With those who do not build a plan, they plan to fail, right? So that is critical. And then on top of that, I want to encourage you, if you can maintain during this time, also build a plan to attack, to go on the offense. So I'm going to leave you again with the quote. This is a wealth building principle that when it's easy for everyone, then that is generally when it's good times, sunshine, roses, think 2021, there's a lot of competition, prices are soaring, all of these things. And I talked about this the other day. Rick Rule, um, another rapper, he's an economist. He said the cure for high prices is high prices. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And so I don't see that, who knows what's going to happen with interest rates? Don't be in the world of betting. The only thing I know for sure is that eventually it'll get better. I don't know when and I don't know how. I don't know to define that, but I just know that eventually it'll get better. And I want to be positioned that when it gets better, I benefit. So do not scour away, do not cower to the side when things are tough. Build your plan, at bare minimum, build your plan to maintain what you have. If you don't have anything right now, um, that's on you, right? That's on you. This could be your opportunity to change that. If you're looking to do your first deal, this could be your opportunity to change that. So then you need to be in a place, again, do you have relationships with, if a deal came across, number one, would you know what a deal is? Number two, would you know how to fund it? Because you cannot steal in slow motion. You have got to be a person of action. And if up to this point you have not been a person of action, what's going to change? This certainly isn't a time that, gives you confidence, right? Surely you're going to say, hey, am I doing the right thing? Like there's going to be more questioning during this time, right? Because it's a more difficult market. So if you have not been a person of action up to this point, unless something has changed, I don't think anything will change for you. There will be more reasons for you to not take action than there were prior, right? There'd be more questioning, all of that. Now, from there, I want to encourage you, truly encourage you that if you are positioned right, if you are ready to pull the trigger, if you're ready to be a person of action, this could be a phenomenal opportunity, even if you just buy one deal, one, two, three deals, right? I'm not saying you have to go buy 100 or 1,000, but this could be a phenomenal opportunity for you. But you have got to get in rooms where you're listening, get around folks who've been through numerous markets, get around folks who are preparing and getting in position. Why? Because if you're the only person in your life getting ready to take advantage of this, I promise you, you grow into the conversations you're around. So you want to know some of the most common conversations I have right now? It's folks who are doing deals. So when I sit in a room with folks doing deals, guess what? It is easy. It is easy to be encouraged to be a deal maker in that type of room, right? I specifically, one of the reasons that I moved here to Florida was I wanted to watch what my mentor did in a changing market. I wanted to hear his commentary on a daily basis as much as I can. I wanted to be in a room, and this market is rich with folks who've been in the business for decades. That is what I am wanting to do, right? Be contrarian. Many folks are choosing to sit on the sidelines. Oh, I'm going to go to Bitcoin instead. Oh, the stock market's just been so high right now. I want to get a hold of that. I'm moving out of my real estate into that. Oh, you're not making any money in real estate right now. I'm going to go buy businesses. All these things, to each their own. Yes, it has not been easy. More people are quitting real estate now than I have I've known in my last 11 years in this business. And I can tell you right now, if all you own is one property, it is very hard to maintain with one property. Let me explain. Mom and pops who have only one rental, especially one single family property, it is really difficult to maintain that because, I'm a single family person, but, I've got 56 stores in my portfolio right now. So if I have an issue with one, well, then the others can help. The cash flow from the others can make up for it, right? I don't know how I've been able, to maintain during this very difficult market with the insurance crisis and things like that, if it wasn't for my reserves, but also for the rest of my portfolio, right? Again, they kind of helped, pick up the slack. And this is kind of, the multifamily folks, this is kind of their point, right? If you have a 4 unit, or like, let's just go down to a duplex, right? If you have a single family home and if it's vacant, well, and you have the mortgage due, with that vacancy, now it's coming out of your pocket or your reserves, right? Well, if you have a duplex, depending on where the cash flow is, well, hey, maybe that 1 unit can pick up some of the slack, if not all. Same thing for fourplexes, things like that. Well, the same thing applies to a portfolio. You might not have a fourplex, but if you have 4 rentals and one of them is vacant, well, maybe the cash flow from the others can help at least limit the amount of money you're having to come out of pocket. So, with that being said, I want to encourage you that truly I am, I want to encourage you that maintenance is possible in this time, that you can work through the difficult time and know that bad markets end. Eventually, things will get better, and don't give up, right? You don't drown if you don't stop, if as long as you don't stop swimming, right? So, for those of you who are in the thick of it, maintain, 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 hold the line, okay? When you think of giving up, just go a little bit further, right? And keep that same attitude. Now, with that being said, on the other side, for those of you who can maintain and confident in your ability to maintain, you should be positioning yourself if you're not already positioned. And this is where you need to be routinely looking for phenomenal deals and making offers. So, buy when there's blood in the streets, even if some of that blood is your own. I want to encourage you guys today that there could be phenomenal opportunities for you and your family during this market if you can have if you could have a mindset that is set, that you are unwavering in your commitment to building wealth for your family, and if you build a plan and stick to it. You guys know I'm cheering you on. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Stay tuned. Episodes dropping every week. Hope you guys are doing well, and I'm cheering you on.